Kristen just came from the gym, so don't mind her, but she's gonna taste the cookies and cream live, so hold on, okay? Don't taste it yet. Hey, Nikki.
Hi. Can I give the baby a hug? I love you, Bella.
See this, if she can watch these, what would you like to tell your wife and your kids?
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
Words that come to mind when I hear the evidence in this case are a senseless crime and the viciousness of the crime. And equally aggravating in this court's determination is the despicable act of disposing of the bodies in the manner in which they were done in this case. I've been a judicial officer now for starting my 17th year, and I could objectively say that this is perhaps the most inhumane and vicious crime that I have handled out of the thousands of cases that I have seen. And nothing less than a maximum sentence would be appropriate, and anything less than the maximum sentence would depreciate the seriousness of this offense. So the court is going to sentence Mr. Watts as follows. With regard to count number 1, murder in the first degree as it relates to Shanann Watts, the court is going to sentence you, sir, to a life sentence in the Colorado Department of Corrections, followed with no possibility of parole. And that is going to run consecutively to all but counts 3 and 4. With regard to count 2, as it relates to murder in the first degree with Bella, the court is going to sentence you to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole. With regard to count number 3, the court is going to sentence you as it relates to Celeste to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole. With regard to counts 4 and 5 relating to Bella and Celeste as a different theory of first-degree murder, the court is going to sentence you to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections, and legally those sentences must run concurrently as a different theory of first-degree murder. Recognizing the unlawful termination of pregnancy for the unborn child that has been named Nico, the court absolutely believes that the maximum sentence of 48 years would be appropriate to run consecutive to the other charges, with an additional mandatory parole period of 3 years as set forth by statute. With regard to count number 7, as it relates to tampering with a deceased body, as well as counts 8 and 9, each a class 3 felony, the court is going to impose a maximum sentence of 12 years each for those counts to run consecutively to the other counts. The court is going to order that statutory fees be paid and court costs. The court's going to grant the prosecution 91 days to file a notice of restitution, and that will be the sentence of the court. We will shortly be in recess. I would respectfully ask the parties that you remain in your seat. There is a plan by the deputies on allowing people to exit the courtroom, so please remain seated until you are authorized to leave the courtroom based on the direction of the deputies. Deputies, I would respectfully ask that you take this defendant into custody and have him serve the rest of his life in the Department of Corrections. We are in recess.
I was never the smartest kid on the block. I worked my tail off to fight through school. I was not a book, like Chris is a book smart person. He reads something one time and he's like, it's memorized. Me, on the other hand, I was the one staying up to 2 o'clock in the morning studying and still struggling. I'm a horrible test taker. Horrible test taker. I can know all the answers, but put that test in front of me and I bomb it, or I struggle. And I've always struggled, through school. I've always, a lot of things, like insecurities, all of it played, I think it played a huge role in my everything. So, but then the thing about me that is different than just different about me is I've never given up. A lot of you know my part of my story, my health challenges, bad relationships, things that could have knocked somebody down completely hardcore. But the thing is I believe that everything in life happens for a reason, and I also believe people are placed in our life for a reason. And in the part where I gave up on everything, I quit my job. It was kind of temporarily, but kind of quit my job of 9 years. I just said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. You don't understand me. You don't understand what's going on in my life. And I quit. And I got a friend request from Chris. I was in a really, really, really bad place. And I got a friend request from Chris on Facebook. And I was like, oh, what the heck? I'm never going to meet him. Except, one thing led to another. And 8 years later, we have 2 kids. We live in Colorado. And he's the best thing that has ever happened to me. And because of my health challenges, because I got so sick, I let him in. And he only knew me at that time. He knew me at my worst. And he accepted me. And, through your vows, like through sickness and everything, he's been there. He was the one that let me lay on him and fall asleep for 3.5 hours on his lap while he had to pee. He is the best thing that has ever happened to me.
He was a great father.
Good.
I mean, I couldn't ask for a better father for him, for the kids. I mean, honestly, he did everything for them. Played with them, bathed them. I couldn't ask for someone better.
Okay.
Husband-wise, same way. Never seen any kind of problems with him. And the little Celeste had allergies to nuts, tree nuts. Very allergic to them. She had 2 EpiPens she had to carry with her. So she told us all, get rid of anything that's got nuts or any, just get it up high enough. Don't gotta throw it away. Just get it out. No problem. My wife cleaned the whole house out. I mean, I had to go looking for stuff. You know, she took underneath every cabinet. So she told Chris's parents the same thing. They did go over her house a couple times, and Chris's mom really never got along with Shanann because she took her son away from him. That's how we took it. They didn't come to her wedding, their engagement party. They didn't come to nothing to theirs. So when Shanann was over, I think it was the second week she was there, the weekend, she had called me up frantically and said, "Get me the hell out of here now." The mother had nuts all over the place, and they're all worn. She was there a week prior and told her to make sure this is this way. So the mother, at that time, Shanann was feeding the girls some hot dogs for lunch and all this, and she had her other two nieces and nephews over, and they came out with ice cream with all these nuts in it. And so ended up being, Shanann and her had little words, and Shanann said no, and she called me up and said, "I gotta go. We just had a blowout because, she's got nuts on the table, nuts on the in the cabinet right there, open for this little girl." And she said, "No, I'm done." And so she told Shanann, "Well, that's just a training lesson or something like that to her." I'm like, that's not it's a 3-year-old girl you're talking to. It's not something you're trying to, discipline. Birthday present, hey, your sister's getting a birthday present today. You're not getting one because it's not your birthday. That's some kind of, saying this is what you do,
Right.
So Shanann called Chris and told Chris about it. So Chris said he called his parents that night, and his mother told him the same thing. That's what we heard. I didn't hear it, but that's what Shanann had said. So, of course, Shanann never went back to the house with the children. She stayed at our house. So, there was a few times that Shanann would FaceTime Chris, because she would FaceTime every night because of the children. And there was a few times, a couple of times it did catch me off guard, like, what's going on? Because she was like, "Are you going to pay attention to the children?" Like he was in another world out there. And he's like, yeah. And then, like I said, and I started saying, well, what's he doing? Is he just not, ignoring them and just not paying attention, watching TV or whatever, When he came out, he was the same way. If you've ever seen anything, if you've seen with Chris, he's just the same way. That's how he is. There's no, everything you see in the courtrooms or whatever, he's the same way. That's just how he was.
As far as
his demeanor, he was just more straightforward and didn't,
quiet.
Yeah, he wasn't the really, he would talk to us when we were there. Everything he'd have a good time, but it just doesn't, We went to the beach. The kids, it was the first time they ever went to the beach, and he was like the same way. It didn't dawn on me anything, and Shanann never said anything to us about a separation, fights. I don't know if she wanted to just keep it from us and not, get us involved in it. So we knew nothing about anything that they were doing, separation or any of this stuff, until this all happened, and friends of Shanann said, no, this is what was going on. And they said, they had a suspicion that he may have been cheating on her, because she had come home when he went. She was gone Saturday he said he was going to a baseball game, and I caught that kind of odd, because he never leaves the kids with somebody else if Shannon's not there. He's usually always home. Okay, they made the arrangement he was going to a baseball game, but she came home and she checked her finances on the phone and found out he spent $60-something for dinner. And he says, yeah, I went out and had salmon and a couple of beers. So, unless you went to a real expensive restaurant, $60 for a couple of beers, and that may have caused a little bit of, with her, like I said, if she knew anything that was thought something, that really threw her off, saying $60 for salmon and that.
So he told her that, or she called him?
No,
on the
she.
phone,
That's
or-
what, I don't know if she was home at the time or if she called him up.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, you know, it just didn't sound right to her.
Okay.
Special Agent Philip Jones. Today's date is August 15th, 2018. Interviewing Nicole Kessinger with Mark Blair.
He also told me that he was currently in the process of a separation from his wife. As far as I knew, that was becoming pretty finalized. And then Monday afternoon, he told me that she was like gone and he didn't know where she was. And at that point, I don't think that it set off any alarms in my head, just because, I mean, I have friends that I text, and if I don't hear from them for like 3 hours or 6 hours or even like a couple days, I don't feel concerned about where they're at, because it's kind of a standard thing for me. But then she didn't come home that night. I was like, okay, well, maybe she'll come back. And I was kind of under the impression, since they're separating, that maybe she decided to take the kids. Maybe she decided to just leave for a few days. I don't know. I was just, I felt like maybe she was just trying to get some space. And I figured maybe that was why she left her stuff there, to just get some quiet.
Hi, Cece. My name's Nicole, and I'm calling because I'm concerned about a friend of mine. I dropped her off at her house at 2 in the morning last night because we were out of town together, and we were on the way back from the airport, and she was having issues, and she's pregnant.
I get it. I mean, you're telling her like the progress toward the divorce is a little bit more than it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so what were you guys planning?
So it was more like she was gonna help me find a apartment that was affordable. That's kind of just around like Brighton, or maybe just close to work, like another Fort Lupton or something around there. That's kind of like where my area was.
Did you talk about moving in with her?
She didn't want that.
She didn't want that? Would you have done that if she would have been cool with that?
I've been a little too soon, I would have thought. There was just, we'd only been really seeing each other like almost like a month, or maybe just talking about 2 months. That would have been really...
What were you thinking about when you called the school that day, on Monday?
I was freaking out. I didn't know, like I was thinking in my head, like, what I just did, what I just done. And I didn't know, like, it was stupid to do anything. Just, I mean, to call the school, to call Ann, to call anybody. I mean, they were right to be, suspicious about anything. Like, 'cause I knew I probably sounded eccentric on the phone and out of sorts, and just I don't even know what they were thinking. They heard me.
I think they thought it was weird, but I don't know how you would not sound weird, like you said, so.
So, are you 100% sure the girls were still around and alive when you drove out? Okay. So that's completely accurate. There's nothing else about that.
They got in the truck.
Okay.
Where did the blanket go?
It's probably in the trash can or something, I think.
In the trash?
It wasn't like, it was still in my truck.
Okay. We thought we saw some GPS where you had stopped by near construction roll-off dumpster. Is that true, or?
I think that's like, I dumped my clothes in there.
So that would have been on the way back to the house?
My neighborhood.
Yeah. When Officer Kunab was there? Okay. Was it one of those red construction dumpsters?
More than likely.
Okay.
Did you pack new clothes? How did that work?
I already have some in there, because like, in case we have like a spill or something.
Oh.
If you ever get crude oil on you, you don't. Yeah, I have like 2 pairs of boots, all kinds of different stuff in there, just because like just one time I had to clean up a spill and I had defrost on, and I had like a headache for like 2 weeks because it's like the crude oil that comes with that. So I always have something in there.
So where did you keep them after you took them off? Like, did you just change out there into your new other clothes?
So like I dumped my clothes in that dumpster.
But wasn't that on the way back? When you were coming? Like, you'd already worked the whole day, right?
I'd work like till like 11 or so.
11.
Yeah. So that was back when Nicole Atkinson
Yeah, when she was at,
Yeah, when she
at my
called.
house, hitting the doorbell, that's when I
Right.
knew someone was at the house.
Right.
Did you think right then, like, oh fuck, like here we go, or what were you thinking then?
I didn't even know why she was there. I was like, I didn't know, like, maybe she had an appointment or something with Shanann. I didn't know.
What did you think, like, that day, like, what you were gonna say? Like, what was your plan? Were you just gonna go home and be like, report to the police that your family's gone, or?
I had, like, I had no idea what was going to happen. Like, after everything, I mean, I don't even know how I was even acting even normal to people that I was around. Because when, like, Troy and Cody and Chad and Melissa and all them, like, you know, when they showed up on the site, I don't even know how I was even being somewhat even coherent what I was saying, but apparently they understood me. So I didn't know what was going to happen. Like I said, this wasn't like something like some Criminal Minds type.
Like well thought out.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing like that.
It was minute by minute at that point.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on.
So once the girls were gone, was it also just a minute by minute thing as far as the oil tanks?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I mean, just thinking about an oil tank just makes me want to throw up.
And was that just because it was in front of you and there it was and just presented itself? It wasn't a plan beforehand? Okay. Was there any reason why the separate ones?
No, it's like you said, it was like going up the stairs, and it just didn't. No, like what Frank said is like I was trying to separate everybody. That's not.
No.
No, I didn't want to separate anybody.
What was the reason?
I can't even tell you. It was like I said, like someone else was in control of what I was doing, and it was like I was doing something I never thought I would ever do in my life.
Did you think there would be less chance of someone finding them if they were in separate tanks, or?
Whatever my reasoning was in my head that day, it wasn't sound. Nothing was right.
And you don't even remember thinking about it?
No, it was just like, it was like a reaction of something that I wasn't even thinking about.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the trash bags? Do you remember that? There were two.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's trying to, because like she kept, I didn't want to, like when I was putting, there's one coherent, I guess, thing I had, like I didn't want the girls looking at Shanann while they were in the back seat.
So what'd you do?
I put a trash bag on one end and on her feet and on her head, so they didn't have to see.
And they were just too little to kind of figure out, right?
Yeah, they didn't know this one.
Okay. That's good.
I just know, like, when I was driving up there, I mean, you know, they were just, you know, sitting there just, you know, kind of asleep or kind of just like, you know, holding on to each other, laying in each other's laps. You know, I didn't.
Do you remember having any thoughts or thinking about why not just putting them all together with Shanann?
Honestly, it was just happening so fast. I had no time to really have a thought that was my own.
Okay.
But I wasn't like dutifully trying to separate anybody passing away, trying to keep anybody separate.
What made you do that, Chris? What made you plead guilty?
I didn't want anybody else to. I didn't want them to go through this for 2 or 4 years. I didn't want my attorneys to lie for me for 2 or 4 years. Like they would have done anything I told them to do.
Sure.
That's what I don't see how they can do that. And like, you know, that's what attorneys do. You know, like they take their defendant and they say, hey, like, what happened? Okay, we'll go with that story. Like I told them everything I just told you guys. And it's just like, they got together like, well, if, you know, if they ever offered a plea deal, would you ever want to, like, just plead guilty to them? Like, yeah, I mean, if we can end this, end it. Like, I was, like, in September, I told them that.
Really?
Yeah, they, like, but, you know, it was way too early, and the prosecution was still doing their investigation, still grabbing evidence and all kinds of stuff, and that wasn't even really on the table. So I think it was like around Halloween. I think that's when the prosecution went to Frank and Sandy and Frankie's house. And it's talking like, if we can end this, would you be open to that? And that's when like the whole death penalty and everything, all that conversation happened. And I guess they were surprised that it would just be over.
Yeah.
And
we were all in shock. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that was like.
It's like we were going 100 miles an hour and then we just hit a brick wall. Like that's what it felt like to all of us. So I mean, obviously you had more time to.
Yeah, I
contemplate it than
yeah,
us.
I told John and Kate and Sophia and everybody, Amy, hey, if we can just stop this, and like, I know it's, everybody's telling me to fight this, there's no like, there's like, everybody's saying there's like not enough evidence to such and this and that, and I'm just like, no, this needs to end. Like, I don't want people to have to, because for Frank and everybody to have to fly back to Colorado every single time and get reminded of this, like, I'm not sure, it's never going to go away, but to actually have to come and talk about it, have other people talk about it, have, all three of you get on the witness stand and say, what they saw, what they've seen, what they heard on tapes and everything like that. It's just like, I don't want people to live that over and over and over again for years, like it already was.
Did you ever think about, well, it could be very believable, what I told him, it could be very believable that Shanann did, end the girls. And so maybe if I tried to convince people that, maybe if I fought with my attorneys on that, maybe I could lessen it somehow. Did you ever think about that?
Honestly, I never even thought about the story until you guys mentioned it.
Yeah? Okay.
I wondered.
I never even thought about it until you guys mentioned it.
So what did you think about it once it got mentioned?
It's just like I just went with it. I didn't I knew my dad was out there. I knew it was like, I knew they would probably believe it because, my mom and my sister just never really liked Shanann. And I knew that, like, I mean, through all this, like, I got letters from some of my friends that even said, when we went over to your house, we could see, Shanann was more of a dominant personality and more of like, you're always helping with the kids and everything. Just, you're a great dad and everything. We could see, a couple things that I never saw or, whatnot. And even my best friend Mark even said, there's always, something, I didn't really get with Shanann. I was like, nobody ever told me any of this stuff, but okay. But yeah, I never thought about that story. And, that's what my attorneys were going with.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think it was probably the second week I told them, like, what had really happened.
What did they say after that?
They were quiet. They were writing it down. They said they wouldn't judge me, so I told them. I told them everything that happened.
There was like, wasn't her phone found on the couch or between the couch cushions? Like, did you plant all that stuff?
I just threw it in there.
You just threw it in there?
I
Why did you do that?
I don't know what was going on that morning. Like, even like, her watch, her phone, like, if I was actually, like, if I'd planned this, I would probably just take it out to the field or something, But,
what about her ring and stuff? What were you thinking about that?
It's like, maybe she actually really wanted the divorce. Maybe she didn't want to fix it. Just put it there on the counter.
She took it off? Or did you take it off?
I took it off.
Okay. Oh, so that would look like she was saying, I want a divorce, I'm leaving it here when I'm taken off. I see.
So the phone and her watch and the couch, was that morning before you left to go to service? Okay.
That's, I think, Nicole's son found it or something.
Yeah.
Did you go down to the basement? I thought the basement door opened.
Yeah, the door is open, but yeah. So there was a lot of movement. I think it was around 4:26 or something. And the garage door opening, the basement door opening, and then of course the living room sensors and all. Do you remember what you were doing all during that time? Other than
you had a lot of
going in and out
steps.
the garage.
I'll just say that.
Okay. So like the basement, I'm not sure. I mean, the only thing I really have down there is my workout, the bench press and whatnot.
Do you remember going down there for anything or opening that door for anything? Did you think about, well, maybe I'll take her out that way, or is it a walkout basement?
No.
I wasn't at your house. Okay.
No, it's like a garden level basement. So
okay.
It's No, I don't remember really. What's that? I don't think I worked out that morning.
Like, were you packing your lunch in the kitchen? Like, did you
Oh,
have
yeah.
to do all that normal
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely packed my lunch and everything. Did all that. But I don't remember about the basement. Unless I just worked out that morning, I just don't remember. I don't think I did.
So one of the more...
Unless there was a trash bag down there, that's all.
Yeah, you got trash bags from there?
Maybe there wasn't any in the garage and I went down there and got one.
Do you normally carry a roll of trash bags in your truck?
No.
So there was a roll in your truck?
There was?
Yeah.
Maybe I just grabbed it and brought it with me then.
That would have been kept in the basement, maybe? Or
Basement or the garage.
Or the garage. We found out about Nikki right before the polygraph.
I figured that out after with meeting with John and everybody that she had met with somebody from the CBI, like on the 14th or the 15th. I was just like, wait, they were talking. Oh, okay. So you already knew. So, but
I mean, I didn't know how extensive it was, but yes, we knew.
yeah, I mean, walking in there that day, just walking into that room, I knew I wasn't walking out.
Yeah.
Just the feeling I had walking in that room.
Yeah.
Nothing felt right.
What were you thinking about during your media interviews?
I didn't want to do it.
Why did you do it? Did you feel like you had to do it?
I felt like, they would have just kept knocking on my door until I answered it. And like, I didn't even set it up, but Nicole Atkinson set it up. She told me, hey, Fox is
Did she the one who set it up?
She said Fox is gonna be at your house at 10:30. I'm like, what? Like, okay. And I think I even called you about it. Like, what do you recommend that I do? And he's like, it's kind of up to you. I'm like, okay. And I called one of her friends. What should I do? And she said I probably wouldn't do it, but I just felt like I don't even want to know what I said, what I looked like on there, because I knew it. Some people said it just made it look even worse after the fact, but
It didn't look good. I mean, obviously we can't say, oh, we knew right then he was lying, but I think we all watched it together and went, this might be bad.
yeah, I mean,
I had that feeling after I watched it. So I could kind of see it in your face.
it's like I was just lying to more and more people. And
Did you talk to Nikki afterwards? After all this happened?
On the 13th and the 14th.
What was that conversation like?
It was the 13th. It was kind of like, it was more text and then maybe a phone call, and then she thought maybe Shanann took off with the kids, just, because I was telling her I didn't know where they were and all that. And the 14th, she kind of I think she kind of thought something may have happened because they hadn't come back.
Why do you say that she might have thought that?
She kept asking me some weird questions. She kept asking questions that only I would know, but she was testing to see if it was actually me on the phone.
What do you mean?
She would ask what's my dog's name, or what do I what yoga studio do I go to, or something like that. And just I just answer and then another thing about I'm not sure if this is you. I'm just okay.
Is this through text or is this through calls?
Text.
Oh, okay. So she wasn't hearing your voice. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible she thought you'd been arrested and we were on the phone?
Either Shanann had my phone or somebody else had my phone, or
Right.
maybe she thought it was.
Well, hopefully Shanann would know all the answers to those questions, right?
No. This is Nikki asking me.
Yeah, but if she's asking you your name of your dog and what yoga studio and wouldn't
So
Shanann know that?
maybe she thought maybe I was with Shanann. That she was just trying to find out who she was. But yeah, some of the conversation on the 14th got a little weird. I think that's when she met with CBI or something, or FBI. I'm not sure who she met with first.
So she talked to you after she met with?
No.
Oh, she did.
Was she had told me this is the last time you'll probably hear from me. I'm going to stay at my friend Jim's place while this is all going on. She said not to contact her until this is done. She told me to delete everything, and I didn't delete everything. I just okay. I'm not sure why I didn't delete anything, but probably helped you guys out a little bit. But
She told you to delete everything?
Delete all conversations.
Did she tell you why?
She just said delete it. Which I don't think you can ever delete a text message.
We're pretty good at getting deleted text messages.
Did when your dad came in, one of the first things you guys talked about, he said, you know, kind of quietly, I cheated on her, I cheated on Shanann or something. Your dad didn't know until that time?
No, they had, when I was in North Carolina on August 6th, when I spent most of the day with my parents and my sister and everybody, you know, they had, I had told them like something like, you know, this, I don't think this is going to work, like, with what happened with the nuts and everything, and they're not being able to see the kids, you're like, you know, this is the first time they had talked to me, and pretty much.
Oh, because you went 3 weeks or something, right?
Yeah, because Shanann told me to call him while I was at the beach just to smooth everything out, because she was like, all right, whatever's going on in your head, you need to fix this. But she didn't want she didn't want the kids to see him, she didn't want to see him. And then like when I did see him on August 6th, it was after I went and saw my grandmother. She's in a nursing home. And she still wouldn't go see my parents or anybody, it was the kids. So I just told her to leave me there, and my dad come pick me up, and you know, spent the whole day there. And I just they were, you know, they said they want to see the kids. They just don't know if they could ever like, you know, just forgive Shanann for everything that happened that day. I guess, I mean, I'm not sure like everything that was said that day when they had that argument, but apparently it was like a knockdown, drag out, like bomb that went off in there.
Pretty hurtful things.
Yeah, I'm guessing so. And you know, they just don't know like if they could ever forgive her or not. And I just like I never told them about like, you know, cheating on her. Like they even asked me if there's somebody else.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
So they could kind of sense maybe something's going on.
Yeah, because Nikki was texting me the entire time I was over there.
Oh.
So like, they could kind of see like I was texting somebody, but it was like they kind of maybe they kind of knew. Like,
there are quite a few people who would tell us and who do tell us you need to look into Nikki more, Nikki Kissinger. All the way from the extreme end of things being Nikki's the one who ordered the hit.
She was there, hiding in the basement.
She was there. You know, so the extreme is she's the one who told Chris to do it. She's the real problem. All the way, that's the extreme side, and then all the way to, well, there were these texts where she was infatuated, she was in love, she was saying how good Chris was in the sack, and maybe we should look at her more. You know, what would you say to those people?
you know, she had her moments where I had to talk her like off a ledge kind of deal.
What does that mean?
Like, I guess after the fact, there was like videos of her that she was like recording herself because she was like bipolar or something. I never do that. But it's like, and she would get worked up about nothing. She would just like, she came to my house once because I think it was like July 4th. I didn't have to work that day, so I didn't like get up at like 4 o'clock and go home. And Shanann called me like 10 times in a row, and I didn't hear it because I was sleeping. And I was just like, and she was pissed. Shanann was pissed. And like I called her on outside, like, where are you at? Like, what? Like, I was like, I didn't have to work today. It's like, you called me at like 5:30. It's like, the kids want to talk to you at 7:30. I'm like I was sleeping. She was like, she just like, screw you, like, like I don't know where you're at. And I went back inside. Something like, I gotta go. And she was just like, okay, are you coming back? I'm like, probably not.
So wait a minute, you kind of lost me there. Were you at Nikki's place when
Yeah.
Shanann called you?
Yeah.
Okay, and so you were sleeping in her bed.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to work that day because I
gotcha.
didn't have to that day.
Okay.
The first holiday I ever had off. And, Shanann was pissed, and, it kind of pissed Nikki off too that I left. But I think that's when I called Nikki later, and she was like, she kind of realized that, she'd always be like, the second, she said second fiddle.
Sure.
And because that's how I would come back that day. Just, I don't want to be anywhere else when Shanann calls. She was already pissed. So it was stuff like that where she would she would go. She said she would go on like websites and look at like, will a relationship work with somebody? Like, will a mistress work? Will a mistress turn into a relationship?
That's what Nikki was looking at?
Yeah.
She would tell you that, or you
She
heard
told
that?
me that.
Okay.
Yeah, she said that she would go on websites and look at stuff like that. I was like, why do you even look at stuff like that? She's like, I just want to see what other people have experienced.
But like, so that confuses me though, because I thought earlier you were saying she thought you were heading toward a divorce. So why was she looking at herself as a mistress?
This was later on.
Oh.
Like,
okay.
you know, in August, like the first week of August, when I told her, like, you know, I had that talk with her about separation. That's when, like, she started looking at, like, apartments and stuff. But, like, during our July relationship type thing there.
Oh, I see.
That's when she was looking up, like, you know, will it actually work? Okay. She told her friend Brittany about it, I guess, and Brittany told her not to do it, but she said she'd already made a decision.
Okay. And so, are those people absolutely wrong about Nikki? She wasn't asking you to get rid of your family?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And no part of any of this was because she put it in your head or asked you to, or?
No, she never, I mean, this whole relationship contributed to it.
Sure.
But she didn't want me to.
I mean, was it ever like, I wish you didn't have kids, I want to have, you know, kids of my own with you, like?
She never knew if she wanted to have kids, but she said that, you know, at one point she said, I'd like to give you a son.
Did she know that Shanann was pregnant with a boy?
No.
Did she know Shanann was pregnant?
No.
And why is that? You just didn't tell her?
I didn't tell her. Like, because we had met.
But Shanann put that on Facebook.
That's
like, how did she not see that?
I don't know. Maybe she did, and she just was waiting for me to tell her, or she put it out of her head.
Do you feel like your lawyers were fair to you?
Yeah, I mean, they were my only human contact, really.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, almost like a guidance counselor, almost.
Yeah. Did you feel like you were driving the bus, though? With your decisions you made,
Yeah,
or no?
I was like, you know, there was a lot of things I didn't really know what was going on behind the scenes. Like, maybe there was a lot of things they never told me. Like, you know, like stuff that came out, like, afterwards. Like, that whole Nikki Kessinger article in Denver Post and all that kind of stuff. They told me, like, afterwards and everything. But it was, I always felt like anything I was telling them, they were going to do. Like, the whole taking the plea deal and everything, I told them that's what I wanted to do. And they, you know, they asked me, like, it seems like 100 times, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure? Like, once you sign this, like, I guess, like, up until sentencing, I had the time to, like, you know, back out. But, like, they always, even before we walked in the courtroom, they're like, are you sure? It's like, yeah, this is it. Like, okay. They never told me this is what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
They always just said, this is your decision, you know, like, if you want to take this farther, we're, you know, and John said he was ready. He had all kinds of motions written and all kinds of stuff that were, like, really creative, and because he'd never been in something like this before, and he was ready to fight. And I was just like, I didn't want you to have to do that. Not for me, not for something that the story isn't true. Because it would just only gotten worse.
Right.
For everybody, for all three of you, for everybody that was involved in it.
Are you still glad you did?
Yeah, I mean, I never thought I'd be in prison the rest of my life, but, like, I don't want people to have to keep going through this every day of their lives, knowing that, you know, there's a trial hanging over their head, or, I mean, if it ever got that far, I don't know. Yeah. But, like, I didn't want people to have to relive it, you know, every day. You know, some of my friends had a negative, you know, impact on her, from her, or, like, had a description of her that they didn't match, you know, something like that. I didn't want them to hear that either. Like, I didn't want them, like, you know, anybody have to trash her memory. Like, I wanted, like, them to know, like, she was, you know, she's loving life, she's beautiful, she always helped everybody else, all her friends, her Lucas friends, everybody. I just wanted, I didn't want anybody to take away from what she did.
We tried to get you to say that night, I know. But do you remember that?
I remember. I was just like,
I know you obviously weren't ready to say that then.
I know. It's like, you know, like, after my dad left, we both came in, like, all right, we got most of the story. Let's get to the true story. I'm just like, I just wanted to bang my head against the table.
Well, in the end, I think you did the right thing. And even though it's hard to hear, there's a lot of people who thank you for what you did. You know, I think your whole life has been thinking of others, except for one brief moment. You know, I think you really did think of others when you made that choice. So I personally thank you, right? Because it would have been hard for the three of us to go through about this hard, and for everyone else about that hard, right?
Yeah, it was anybody that was family or friends.
Right.
It would have been, you know, just exponentially harder for everybody.
Yeah. I think you did the right thing.
So you haven't told your parents what happened? You just told them I'm pleading guilty for a reason?
Yeah, I've told them, like, on the phone, even, because they're still, I don't know.
You should fight it. You should get...
They've got letters from, like, Australia, from England, I mean, of, like, the 35C in Colorado and stuff, like, you know, improper counsel or something like that.
Ineffective counsel.
Ineffective counsel. And, I mean, some of the stuff they've said about, you know, the dry patch, how it's not, like, FDA approved, how it can alter somebody's mind, like, it was some kind of condition, but there's something else they call, like, CPSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, something like that. Have been, like, some people from England have had it. It's like they've been in an emotionally abusive relationship and stuff like that. I mean, just, like, you know, some of those subjects they put in there, like, yeah, I can relate to it, but, like, it doesn't make up for the fact what happened. But, like, they've got a lot of support from, they've got a lot of hate mail, a lot of phone calls, a lot of, like, you know, stuff like that. I wish they never happened. But they get some support, which is good. But on the phone, they still think, you know, there's a chance that I could get out.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to ever think your kid's going away forever. Like,
you
don't want to fathom that.
They tell me to fight it, like, you know, they don't, not every day, but on their bad days, they'll get a bad message or a bad letter, and then I'll just kind of revert back.
Is it more your mom or your dad?
My mom, she loses it a lot.
Yeah.
On the phone, my dad's usually trying to, you know, like, hey, don't talk about this stuff on the phone with him, because it's just gonna rile you up, and it's gonna make him go back to his cell, and he's gonna think about that all night.
Right.
And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Would you ever want them to know what you're telling us today?
I'd rather just tell them myself.
Yeah.
So they're coming. I think they're gonna try to make a visit in, like, May or so.
So they don't. Do they still think that Shanann killed the girls?
They still believe that, even though I told them I pled guilty for a reason. But they think that I was their words, like, railroaded by police.
Yeah.
Because they, you know, they felt like they pressured me to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Do you feel like that? No.
They asked me plenty of times. This is like, you know, they wanted to fight. Like, if I said fight, they would have just, you know, gone and
Drawn their gloves.
yeah, just went in there and did it. You know, yeah, it's like, no, I can't have you do that.
So, Chris, you care about others deeply. I can tell. You worry about others. And I've asked you, you know, a bunch of times today, but you're not just telling us that you did it because you feel bad for Shanann's memory. You did it